to the Moments of Joy podcast. Today, I am sitting down at Katy, Texas Police Department with two amazing officers, and we're going to talk about Project Guardian and how it can help your community, but how it is helping the community of parents raising children with autism. And I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves.
I'm Officer Mark Marcy.
I'm Corporal Chris Koenig.
Yes. Okay. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering the call and helping us spread awareness. April is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And so we're going to dive a little bit into Project Guardian. I was telling a little story to you guys earlier about how I was driving down the street. I had my son in the car and he had just had a meltdown and we were just overloaded. He was crying. I was on the verge of crying. And then this truck pulled up on the side of me with puzzle pieces. And I literally lost it and rolled down the window and said, my son is autistic and he's having a meltdown. And I felt like it was just such a divine moment of care. And here we are in 2024. And I wanted to spread awareness because we see a lot on the news of stories of children who have gotten shot by police because maybe they came to a home with an aggressive teenager and the officer didn't know they had autism. And so programs like this are so necessary. So we want to dive into Project Guardian because I talked to you, Officer Garcia, and you told me that it originated in Newport News, Virginia.
That's correct.
Yeah. So how did it get to Katy?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. I think that we saw that Harris County had it, and we have a huge community here, so we just thought it was important to have it here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Harris County came out and trained us and everything and exchanged information with us, so well, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. So what is Project Guardian?
For lack of a better word, Project Guardian is a registration program. It helps the police department be aware of individuals with mental health or with autism, so that if we stop that car or we get called to that house, we know that somebody there has it. We get information from the family that tells us, their characteristics, what triggers them, what helps de-escalate them, just gives us a better idea of who they are as a person so that we can help out in the situation. Normally parents won't call us because they'll handle it themselves, but when it gets to that point, we don't want an officer coming in blindsided, not knowing what they're dealing with and the wrong way, and something bad happened.
I think that this information is crucial for parents to register their children. I'm going to register mine. I almost did this morning, but I'm going to do it as well because it can save your child's life. You told me that sometimes parents come and say, oh, I know you may have to hurt my child, and you're like, no.
That's right.
So we don't have to.
That's not what we're there for.
No.
When the parents fill out this form online or in person, our dispatch will create a jacket for them with all that information for the vehicle that you drive, your house, and that individual. And then if an officer gets called to your house, stops that car, runs across this individual, they'll pop up as a Project Guardian client. So you also be aware of it. But once you complete this, there'll be an officer from the team come out, introduce themselves, get to know you and the family, bring you some toys and stuff. And
that's
stickers that go on your house and your car. So even if the officer doesn't have this information yet, when he sees this sticker, he knows that somebody in this area is part of Project Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is really, the Project Guardian program is becoming kind of a universal symbol for law enforcement. It's becoming something that, like I said, for us, like Mark and I both are very familiar with the program and embedded with it, but even our new patrol officers, whenever they come on, this is kind of an aspect of the training program that they're at least exposed to it. So they know, like, hey, when you see this, your response changes, not only for who maybe the autistic individual is or the autistic child, but also your approach that you take to the parent, one with more open arms and understanding. And, a little bit more open perspective that, the call is not what it is at face value. So no, it's this program is immensely important. We're very, very, very glad you're helping us to get the message out.
Yeah.
And universally, this sticker is the same. The patch will be different, but it'll have puzzle pieces around it saying Project Guardian.
Wow.
So it wouldn't matter if you drove to Colorado, an officer stopped you, and he saw that, he would know.
So this is good to put on your car, on your door, at your house.
Yeah.
Somewhere near the front door.
Yeah. And you don't just get one. I mean, if you tell us like, hey, grandparents, aunts and uncles, your people that are in your support system, because we're now a part of it.
Right.
Let us know. If you need 7 of them, great. We'll get you 7. We'll get you 10 of them. Whatever you need, put them on everybody's door. Anywhere where that child goes regularly, make sure they've got it. Or people that are involved, make sure they're aware. We'll put it on their car. We have no problem printing out more stickers.
You just said something, and I just felt something in my heart, because normally over the years, see, when I grew up, we had a program called the DARE program.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And the police officers, they were a part of our community. They came into the school, but hearing you say we're now a part of your village, that just, it really touched my heart, because, wow, I never thought about the local police being a part of my village, like my mom and my sister, those that are taking care of my child to make sure he's okay.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You're a part of our village.
Yeah, we're, when you give us the privilege of being introduced into your support system, we're there. We're not going anywhere. We're family now. Like you're our people. You're our, we're in this, and it's with it together. I told you, I personally experienced that.
Yes. Yes.
Would not be where I'm at with my daughter if it wasn't for the support system I have in place, which includes guys like Mark and everybody here at the police department. So.
And as a dad to a daughter who's on the spectrum, how rewarding is this to you to be able to work in this space?
Huge. It, the biggest things, I'm sorry, I get a little emotional when I'm talking about it, but just because when Maddie was first diagnosed, I was lost. Just lost. I mean, I leaned on my faith, and I knew that, hey, we will get through this. And it was just we. I didn't know who we was exactly, but, in my heart it told me we. And it was Mark, Chief Diaz, all the guys around here, just within Katy ISD, within the special needs program or special education program. And, it was just there's a much bigger community. So one of the biggest things I always tell parents, and I have to tell people, give them a hug. You're not in this alone. We're in it.
Yeah.
We've been there. I've told parents on scenes, I speak your language. I know what you're going through. Even though not everybody does, like when you have that break, we would have breakdowns in the middle of the grocery store and just have to leave a cart full of groceries.
Absolutely.
Because, for lack of better terms, I was embarrassed. Like what every parent's gone through, when your baby's sitting there, having this meltdown, they're overstimulated. It's just, they're not processing everything. And, you get the looks and the, people are like, well, get your child under control. It's not that simple.
No, it's
and
not.
You're embarrassed. And and then you just want to protect your child from the world.
Yes.
When realistically, you need to understand that the world is far more understanding. There's far more people that have gone through what you've gone through.
Yes.
And you just gotta let us in, and that's what I had to do. So that's one of my biggest things too, is bring down your barriers. Come here, like we're in it together.
Yeah.
So.
Man, it just touches my heart, because I feel like since after 2021, it's been just bad. The police are getting a bad rap. We're getting this fear that we really don't need to have.
No.
And that you guys are really a part of our village.
Oh, absolutely.
And are a part of our community that is here to help and not to harm. And programs like this really show that if someone was watching and they're like, well, my neighborhood police department doesn't have Project Guardian, how could they advocate for that?
Say that they need it. Get a hold of their police department. Have them reach out to agencies that have it. If there's a way to include our information whenever you put up this link,
Yes.
To reach out to Mark. Mark is our Project Guardian advocate here. He's the guy that got this program off the ground, got everything kind of embedded. Make sure that y'all have his information. You include me in the link. I mean, if it's one of these things where we need to, explain to a department, hey, this is why it's needed, and this is the benefits that come from it. we'd be happy to advocate for that.
And we will share all of
Yeah,
everything we
yeah.
have with
None of this is a secret. You know, the program, you know,
don't have to reinvent the wheel.
yeah, we don't share your, understand this when I say that, we don't share your child's information. It is protected. It's not released at all. This is, you know, this is no different than like a HIPAA record. It does not go to the public, doesn't have access to it. This is not something that is exposed, you know, at all. So, but if a police department says, you know what, I think we want a Project Guardian program, we're gonna take all this stuff that we've got and say here, and then ask them, please make it better, and show everyone else how you make it better. Help this to, you know, evolve into something bigger, greater. Maybe somebody can be that next puzzle piece to make it bigger and make it better.
I can imagine how scary it is for a parent to decide that they need to report this person to the police department. But we make every effort to just say, hey, like Corporal said here, that we're part of the family now. We want to be there to help. We're not there for anything more than that. So,
Yeah. Under the post, I made a post about a young guy who died in California, and there was no Project Guardian in place, and his parents called the police, and under the post people were saying, don't call the police on your children if they have a meltdown. But we wanna change that.
So the biggest thing is you have to drop that barrier of, I'm just going to tell you enough. We need to know everything. Like I have to tell, you know, I've had other parents, you know, just the other day, I was on a traffic stop, and of course, lady saw my puzzle piece, and she goes, oh, so you're aware of autism? So I'm very aware. So I'm a parent with a child with it, you know, probably similar to your son. And because he was going through a little bit of a meltdown. And I said, do you need to take care of this? It's okay. And she's like, well, yeah, but I said, look, handle that. We'll talk. And so we had a conversation afterwards. I introduced her to Project Guardian, explained to her, hey, you're not alone. Right. You know, it's all going to be okay. And I said, in the event that something happens, because she addressed, and many parents have before, well, how do I know that whenever a police officer shows up that my child's going to be safe? Well, first off, you know, we don't respond to any call with the anticipation we're going to hurt someone, whether it's a bank robbery or a false alarm or my child is going through a breakdown and I need help. There's never a time where a police officer goes to a call with the anticipation of hurting someone. So first off, no call starts out that way.
Yeah.
Next is just let us know. Be upfront with the dispatcher. Hey, my child is 9 years old. My child is 19 years old. My child is 39 years old, and he is on the spectrum. He's autistic. My child has special needs or is in special education. However you want to say it, whatever your comfortable communication word is with that. Yeah. And then let us know, hey, you know, or you can tell the dispatcher, because she's going to relay this information to us. He was triggered by this. He was triggered by, you know, a hypersensitivity to touch or whatever. This has happened, or we're not sure what the trigger is. But if the officer, whenever they show up, you know, no lights, no sirens, typically we're not going to anyway, just because we understand that that's usually something that is going to, you know, further the breakdown and further the overstimulation, you know, but just let us know, hey, this is what it may have caused it. But more importantly, what do y'all use to de-escalate? You know, what do you use to help whenever we're going through an overstimulation? Because it's not just him, we're all going through it. It's not just them, it's all. So what do we need to do? How do we need to respond? And typically marks like me, you know, we don't introduce ourselves as corporal. I come in, hey, I'm Chris, what's going on? We're just people. You know, this isn't, you know, we're not investigating the crime of the century here. We're trying to help everybody get through 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. You know, I mean, this is just being real.
Absolutely.
And you know, so everything that you can tell us and tell that officer helps us when we respond. Because again, I was one of those parents. I didn't want the world to know this. I was still trying to understand it. And the fact is all these guys already knew it. They knew how to handle it and everything like that. Like I told you, the one who helped me get Maddie diagnosed and everything, absolute angel in helping me with that. She had 2 sons that were autistic and are on the spectrum, and she was the one that helped me. I mean, I had to remember that someone helped me get to this point, and there's going to be other people to help me get her the rest of the way.
That's right.
So the more you tell us, the better. It helps us. There's nothing you can say or you can never tell us too much. That's the thing. There's no such thing as too much. Let us know everything that might help. Is it a snack? An example that I would give you, we had, Mark, you might remember when we had this, it was a adult female. She's on the spectrum, and she had walked away from home. She had separated from home, and we found her, or we were getting, we were getting sightings of where she was at. I got to the house first, called mom, or talked to mom and dad. Hey, what is there a family word? What do you call her? Like my kids each have that name that we call them. And, mine is Madster. If somebody calls her Madster, she knows like, oh, that's like our people. And, I said, what, I literally told her, I said, what do your people call her? And she told us her name. And sure enough, go a couple streets over, see what she's wearing, call her by her name, like, oh yeah. And then jumped in the front seat. Right. Can we go see mom? Yeah, it was, there was that instant de-escalation. Now, anyone else that came up to her, she was a little bit worried until they said, hey, this is what, they call her. Right. And then everybody was chill. Yeah. Those things are so critical to help de-escalate those situations.
They matter. Yeah. So when your officers go through training for this program, you mentioned that all of the officers go through somewhat of a training for Project Guardian. What does that look like?
It's more or less exposure. So here's the thing. The program is supported, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you would not agree in parallel, but the parents are what make this program what it is. Because if there's no children in Project Guardian, then Project Guardian is in vain. So what we do is we say, hey, if you see this, this is how you would respond. And we go over things. We show videos. We talk about different scenes. Mark handles all that whenever he goes through their CIT training. Right. Before they hit the streets, they have to go through a mini academy. They've already been through a police academy, or they've come from somewhere with experience from another agency. Right. But then they go through a condensed version. It's kind of, this is how we do things here at the Katy Police Department. And one of the most important classes they go through is crisis intervention training with Mark. And he discusses this program, what that puzzle piece means, ways to respond, things of that nature. And then most importantly, it's, hey, if you don't know what you're getting into, or you feel like you're treading in waters you're not sure of, call me. Mark is not just here for parents, he's here even for the officers. But then we explain to them, hey, they need this form, and then get a hold of us and get a hold of a Project Guardian representative. But no, it's the parents that make the program. I mean, it's without that we wouldn't be here. Yeah.
And we also cover we call it search and rescue, but it's when they elope. We're familiar with that they love water, so we check those areas first. Or also creature and habit. Right. And somebody's there with the family getting who lives close, who's the family that lives close, who's their friends, what do they like to go to the card, where all have they been that's close. And then we send out officers to all those locations at once, starting to look for them. We know that parents with autistic kids will have 6 or 7 locks on the front door.
Absolutely. You also talked to me a little bit about Project Lifesaver. Yes. And what is that?
So Project Lifesaver is it's a location device that that a child on spectrum, autistic child, can wear. Mark has a little bit more experience in the program, but kind of the rough outline of it is a band that has a shortwave radio transmitter. Yeah. It transmits the signal. Each child is given a unique radio frequency, and in the event that they elope or they're separated, if we can get within, I believe it's a half mile. Yeah, it's roughly a half mile. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, closer to the stronger the signal, and I think some of it depends on topography and stuff. But essentially, what happens is, say your child has become separated from you. You let us know, hey, he's a Project Lifesaver child. Yeah. We get his or her radio frequency, and we use a shortwave radio receiver, to try and locate their ping. And as it gets stronger, we can sit there and try and locate them. Yeah. The reason that they use a shortwave radio is because, unlike GPS, like an AirTag, or like GeoSpot, stuff like that, shortwave radio is not affected by submersion in water. So if this effort becomes, changes from a locate and reunite to a locate and recovery, we can do so.
Okay.
That's the sadder side of things, but it's the reality.
Reality,
It's
yeah.
the reality of it.
It's reality.
That's another program that not every agency offers. We are in a support function of it. Me and Mark and other officers are trained here in the event we have a lifesaver child that is separated. We have the receivers here and been trained on how to use them and can actually help in those efforts and can help other agencies that if they have a Project Lifesaver child go missing, we can respond also. We're in works of trying to get it where we're an agency that actually hosts that, where we can, not the training, so to speak, because it is a little bit of a heavy effort it takes effort on both. Again, it's just like this program. Mom, dad, caretakers, caregivers are all involved too. There is a maintenance program associated with the van. You have to test it. We have to make sure the batteries are all working. There's a commitment to it. And it takes both parts. It takes us and the parents to make that program work.
And I think right now we go through in county
Yes.
Okay.
to get those tags. And our family wouldn't say purchase them because the company still owns them, so they can maintain them and update them. But yeah, we get through them Fort Bend County to get them assigned.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Fort Bend County handles the maintenance program with it, and checking the bands and make sure they're working, and making sure that the parents are keeping the test records, because it's just that the parents have to keep records of testing of the band in the home, and then whenever the officer comes to review the condition of it and so forth, make sure and new battery changes and so on. It's different, a little bit labor intensive on both sides, but I've been on scenes where that has been a successful tool in recovering a child and locating a child. So it's more than worth it.
We see it so much now on Good Morning America. That's my show. I've made a reference several times. It's part of my morning routine. But I saw a story about a little girl who had wandered away from home, and parents couldn't find her, but the police found her in a pond in the back. Thank God it was only knee deep, and they were able to find her. But that kind of device could have really made a difference.
Absolutely.
In locating her faster. And actually, they were able to find her through some type of radio frequency type of technology.
there's other companies out there that are doing it. Project Lifesaver is one that's endorsed by agencies around here. And that's who does our training and stuff. So I do believe there are others that are out there. We're just not super familiar with.
Yeah. So this paper I'm looking at, it says 1 in 54 children have been identified with an autism spectrum disorder, and it is 4 times more common amongst boys than girls. And I'm so excited and happy that our local police department is involved in saving their life, protecting them, being a part of our village. That was my biggest takeaway from this. As I think about my son's village, I can now say that the police department is a part of our village.
Oh yeah, Chris and Mark, we're a part of it now.
Yeah, and we hope that this narrative of the police being an enemy can be changed, especially for us raising children with special needs. I think as a mom who's raising a Black son, we just have different fears raising our children. But sitting across from you guys, I'm committed to taking down that barrier for myself and raising my children, not just the one who is autistic, but my son that's on the camera, and I'm a mom of 5 boys. And so I'm changing that narrative, and that the police are a part of our community and they're not here to hurt us. We talked off camera, and there are police officers who are bad, but not all of them, not the most of them.
Every profession has people that, tarnish it. Doctors, lawyers, construction workers, teachers, everybody, coaches.
Yeah.
And there's no profession that is without tarnishment. It's one of those things that we don't know how to explain it. It just is, what it is, for the lack of better terms. But
absolutely.
But it takes guys like Mark, other members of our police department, and other members of the law enforcement community to, whenever someone does do something that tarnishes our profession, We just have to shine that much harder on
That's
that,
right.
on there too.
Yeah, that's good. And that's why you guys are able to impact the community like that as well. Well, as we wrap up, parents, I want you to look up Project Guardian. You can Google it and see if they have one in your area. Project Guardian in sharing your information is key in helping officers respond safely and effective. Their information on how it gives information on how to best communicate with the individual who has autism in your family. You will share information on behaviors that they can expect, like kicking, biting, hitting, those aggressive behaviors that we've seen in deadly force. Information you would share on triggers to avoid and ways to approach the individual. And this is free and voluntary and confidential, so you don't have to worry about them sharing your information out. And if Project Guardian is not in your local police department, you can contact them and ask for them to have Project Guardian and Project Lifesaver to help the children with autism who are in the community. Is there anything else that we should add? That's it, guys. Thank you so much for being on the Moments of Joy podcast.
Absolutely.
It's a wrap.
No, I enjoyed it.